Yeah. All right, guys, welcome to our Wednesday episode for our live stream. And thank you so much for always keeping up to date with me. Of course, after a deep research into many aspects in the world, some of the most, attaching or rather, biting information include the fight that is looming between Museveni and Kenya's Ruto. The aspect of the cancelling of police recruitment, the issue of exam cheating, NJAGI and how he shares what moments he went through in Uganda, and finally, Muigai blaming the voters. Do you agree that the voters are the problem in Kenya? Let us drop the comments based on what you think and what you believe in. So guys, let's begin with the why police recruitment was denied in Kenya and see what happened. So we've seen the suspension of recruitment of the police just after a high court halted the process. Remember, Harun Mweo went with a petition in court, and after that he won the case. So therefore, the High Court has had to halt the hiring of the police officers. What do you think about this? Is it a political tool for politicians and harvest time for big boys in the police service? Was the petition sent by the same people complaining loudly? Is it a failure or a shame? Is it the wastage of the taxpayers' money? Does it treat us like fools, maybe? So let's question this process of halting the police recruitment in Kenya, because the process is so translucent. Sometimes you go there, run miles, and at the end of the day, you'll not be recruited. So guys, let's get to understand why this process was halted through Citizen TV. I get so just hours after the High Court issued interim consummatory orders halting the exercise following a petition filed by politician and businessman Christina Matthews. Why are you asking about dating? I already have a family, so I can't actually date. So I'm sorry if you're not happy with that, but I can't actually date currently because I have a family to take care of. Okay. Yeah, so I wouldn't be able to answer such a question because in my position currently I have a family and therefore I'm not looking forward to dating. All right, Christina? Or is it you want to date a younger person? Matters to date is about decisions that people make personally. And for whatever reason, if you think that is maybe something suitable that is going to add value to you, you should also look at value addition. Is what you are going to do adding value to you? Or are you going to reduce your value? Or maybe you are not going to add value to yourself. So I always think that is, personally, that's what I think. Anyway, let's proceed to our analysis. And we want to look at the why the government actually had to do away with the High Court. Okay, why the High Court had to halt police recruitment. Thank you, Christine Matthews, for the question. Anyway, I was trying to avoid it, but then I just saw that I just have to answer genuinely as I did. So welcome on the channel, and thank you so much for becoming active as the first audience. I appreciate, and also I thank everybody who's coming on board. Let's proceed with our political analysis currently, and of course see why the government, or rather the police recruitment had to be halted. Why do you think this was halted? I would wish to ask you, and do you believe that it was the right procedure for the High Court to take that after Harun took the case to court? As I ask that, I'm going to the second aspect very soon. So let me just pull some video here, and then I'll proceed to the next aspect. Okay,
So thank you so much for coming in the house. I'll as we begin our live stream, I will encourage you to keep subscribing to the channel, like the video, and recommend to your friends. Now remember, the High Court issued a conservatory order temporarily suspending the notice for recruitment of new officers by the National Police Service. Of course, the news were already out and people are very ready for the recruitment process of 10,000 police officers. This is one of the processes that is so difficult in Kenya. I wanted really to be a police officer. I tried recruitment, but I didn't make it, and I also tried to apply for the army, never made it. I don't know, for whatever reason, when it was one of the careers that I really loved. Anyway, it is life. But I have some friends in the police force and army, so I hope maybe one of my family members one day will become part of this deal. Yeah, so the recruitment was meant to fill up 10,000 police. Grow a Garden Fan says, hi, welcome, welcome, with a very interesting name that is more into agriculture. Welcome to the channel, and thank you so much for participating in our discussions. So the recruitment was actually meant to fill 10,000 police constables and officials nationwide, but the suspension actually stemmed from the a petition that was filed by someone known as Harun Mwau, who challenged the process, how it occurs. Now, the petition was filed. The core legal issue was that maybe the question was, who has constitutional or statutory authority to conduct police recruitment? That was the question by Mwau. So Mwau was arguing that the recruitment notice was unconstitutional, void, and invalid because it was issued without proper legal basis. All right. I've seen Grow a Garden Fan again say hi. I had already said hi to you. Welcome. Ronald Kiria Bagea says hi. Welcome. Then Grow a Garden Fan says, will you be happy if I subscribe? Of course I'll be. Any YouTuber is always happy when a new person recruits, subscribes to the channel and likes the video. Diole Akula asks, are you from Nigeria? No, I'm from Kenya. I'm from Kenya and a lover of Africa in general. And I normally discuss matters from different countries. Of course, yesterday I talked about Nigeria partly, and I still plan to talk about Nigeria because there is a lot of pending issues. I've done 2 videos on Nigeria, but I'll still do more on that. June Itute says, can you stand? When you're doing a live stream and focusing on matters, you don't stand. But of course, I normally stand and run and dance. If you look at many of my videos, some of the videos show me walking, some standing, some sitting. But for now, please bear with me, John Itute. Jole Akula says, what African country do Kenyans not like? Can I really tell the which country? Because it depends. It depends on the specific area and specific challenges. For example, recently when people went to Tanzania and they experienced challenges, of course, you saw so much on my analysis. Some people were not happy about Tanzania. When some of the activists went to Uganda and they were harassed, some people are not happy with what happened there. Maybe in another time, people go to, let's say, maybe South Africa or India and maybe get a bad experience. They may not like it. But I think Kenyans really are ready to explore everywhere. If you look at Kenyan travelers, they go in different places. I've seen travelers, and even myself, I would wish to travel all over Africa and go to European nations, America and all that. So I wouldn't actually particularly just hate a country unless they don't want us to get there. Because I should be ready to go even to Cuba, to Haiti, and everywhere else, all right? John Itute, please, I can't subdue to whatever you're doing because I am doing whatever I have to do here. So let's proceed with the discussion. And of course, specifically, the argument on the police recruitment suspension happens in the fact that recruitment exercise was announced by Inspector General of Police or the NPS, yeah, that may contravene Article 2 of the Constitution. There is a mention of National Police Service Commission had planned the recruitment, but this was halted following the legal questions. Now, the timeline is also what we have seen here. The recruitment notice in question on 4th November 2025 was issued by IG Douglas Kanja. Then we saw the High Court order came around 10th November 2025, suspending the recruitment until the petition is heard. Another earlier suspension took place around 2nd October 2025 by the Labour Court due to Harun Mau suit. So what does this mean? All right. So the recruitment exercise cannot proceed for now. No new recruits can be taken to the police under the order announced by the High Court. So the concerned authorities, of course, who are IG, NPS, NPSC, are required to respond to the petition and file the responses. Maybe in case there is a legal appeal, maybe it may bring back this. Now let's go to the second aspect of Museveni. Of course, we have seen Museveni attacking Kenya, or rather trying to provoke Kenya over the Indian Ocean. We have already seen earlier the aspect of Migingo. In earlier times, we saw a very serious war going on. So we currently have to understand what is happening and how I wish we look at this aspect of Museveni's ocean gambit, as Uganda is provoking Kenya for the ocean part. So let's listen to this.
Within hours, his son and Army Chief General Muzi threatened to capture the Indian Ocean from Kenya in 8 hours. 8 hours. That single phrase has turned East Africa's calm into a diplomatic wildfire. But behind the rhetoric lies something far deeper, a strategic signal about oil, power, and a father preparing his son for Uganda's political throne. At a rally in Kampani, Museveni didn't sound off the cuff. He said Uganda has been locked out of what rightfully belongs to us since colonial borders were drawn. To his supporters, this wasn't madness. It was just...
All right, guys. So, of course, that was Museveni. Museveni, in many of the rallies he's trying to say that Uganda has been denied access to, rightful access to Indian Ocean, and Kenya has to do something about it. I don't know what you think, because I have people who watch me from Uganda, the Kenyans, and other people from other countries. What do you think about this? Paul Wanyonyi, welcome in the house, and thank you so much for coming on board. And let's proceed into our discussion over the issue of Indian Ocean. Yeah, so let's check on this.
Justice. To Kenya, it sounded like a veiled threat. Museveni's framing was deliberate, not a request for access, but a statement for entitlement. The word entitled matters. It places history and sovereignty on the same line and signals grievance rather than partnership. Hours later, his son took that grievance to social media and poured gasoline on the fire. Quote, Kenya should quickly give us access to the Indian Ocean because it rightfully belongs to us. End of quote. Then the punchline, quote, I can capture it in 8 hours with 8,000 troops.
So the son of Museveni, the current president of Uganda, is actually coming so much for Kenya. You know, the other day when Bomb NJAGI and Nicholas Olo were caught in Uganda, of course, we understood that the instruction that were making them to be, kept for that long, and the release itself is connected rightly to the sun. Of course, we have been knowing that Yoweri Museveni has been preparing his son for actually for the future. Now, currently, we see Museveni alongside the son are connecting or working together to provoke Kenya. And this is a very fateful situation. According to what he says, he will send almost 8,000 troops to come to Kenya. And within 8 hours, according to his calculations, he will have captured Indian Ocean. What is this? Because Kenya is currently having a lot of regional squabbles. Some of them then look like silent, but I think it has been a taste of the, the patience of Kenya for that long. It is not a rosy situation for any country to loom into war, but then the provocation is just becoming too much. And as we see ourselves going through a lot of, destabilization, including economic, we are watching the space, but there are so many challenges that are forthcoming. What then should be the solution? What then is expected of Kenya? What then is expected as a response from our end? Now that recently Bob Njagi and Nicholas were kept in Uganda for 38 days before anyone would release them, and it had to take the hand of Uhuru Kenyatta to reverse the situation and help Bob Njagi and Nicholas to come back. Does this mean that Uganda has already tested Kenya and they understand that we are weak? Or what exactly does he mean? This is not the first threat. Remember, in 2022, we had again the son of Museveni threatening Kenya about some matters. And I don't know what calmed him down or what, veered the space and gave him off, But let's listen to the situation as we prepare to go into the story of Bob Njagi and Nicholas Olo, who were just released some few days from Uganda because they shared the atrocities they went through. And of course, Museveni himself had come on board, sharing that he had put them in the fridge. Such unexpected turn of events. Paul Wanyonyi says, let him try. So this is exactly what the son of Museveni, General Muhoozi, posted. General Muhoozi posted this to Kenya. My father gives me green light. It will take me only 8 hours to capture the Indian Ocean from Kenya and make it property of Uganda. All right? Now, guys, you have to remember that there was a recent saga between Uganda and Tanzania. During the time of fight, it was indicated that one of the regions of Tanzania has been claimed also by Museveni, who says that it was taken away from them and it has to be reclaimed. Does it mean Uganda always feels like it has its parts taken? Will we see it also claiming some part from Sudan? Will they also claim some parts from other regions surrounding them? This is not a good tone. A good neighbor does not begin claiming in campaigns about the property you own and indicate that one of your cows or one of your chicken is his. This is a bad indication. When a neighbor starts this, be ready to lose some things from your end or be ready for war. This is exactly what Museveni is doing and the son, General Muhoozi. So let's watch more.
This isn't the first time Muhoozi has tested boundaries online. Remember when he joked about capturing Nairobi in 2022? It sparked an international incident. Now, as Uganda inches toward its 2026 elections, Muhoozi is using the same playbook: populist provocation, nationalist appeal, and online chaos as campaign fuel. In Kenya, reaction came faster than furious. Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino fired back with sarcasm. Uganda should apply to join Kenya as the 48th country. Problem solved. Twitter users piled on with memes, maps, and jokes, turning the threat into a national roast session. But beneath the humor was anger. Many Kenyans saw the remarks as disrespectful and dangerous. Kenya's foreign ministry stayed silent, but insiders say Nairobi is watching closely because this isn't just about words. It is about trade, security, and regional stability.
So guys, when we talk about an ocean, actually an ocean is one of the means of transport if we have to refer to that. because when we have things like sometimes oil and many other goods, they come offshore. And we understand that it's through Indian Ocean, for example, we access some goods. When such General Muhoozi says these statements, they don't occur well with us. Anyway, hoping that there will be the best solution to be reached at, hoping that Muhoozi will become sane again, hoping that Kenya will also stand strong on this matter and actually seek the right intervention. Let's look into Bob NJAGI story after release from Uganda. Of course, when they touched the soil of Kenya on Sunday morning, they revealed that they have gone through a lot of atrocities and they are going to share on the media. Now they speak. What do they have to share? All we know as observers or the media, we have only heard about some few things that Museveni, shared and what other people from Uganda said. Some of this included putting them in a fridge and making them see the ordeal of why they had to step on the soils of Uganda after the president and Muhoozi thought they were not supposed to. So let's listen to this.
In 15 years since I was in Uganda, and being an East African citizen, we agreed that we should go and see what's happening there. Both look at the opportunities available for business, because we are also entrepreneurs in our country, and we have friends who are entrepreneurs in Uganda. I remember during COVID-19, I was able to supply COVID masks in Uganda with the help of a Ugandan businessman. So our trip going to Uganda was not as such political, though we agreed that as we are there, we had to join our comrades from the NUP party who are launching a manifesto in Jinja. So we spent the night in Jinja town, and the following morning agreed to participate in that event to view what His Excellency Robert Chagulanyi was going to present as his manifesto to the people of Uganda.
Of course, listening to what the activists share and remembering what Chergey said. Chergey actually is a very funny person. No wonder he has been given names that include Omunyambi. He has been called the fatting representative of the king, and so many other names. I wouldn't find that awkward from the labeling, but I would find awkward that Chergey would say the nastiest, the craziest statements in public when everybody else, including those in government in or opposition, would actually require that moment of, boldness, that moment where everybody requires to speak. As we speak currently, of course, there are activists who are not being supported, and I'm not also supporting them because they are radical. And I will mention that maybe in another video that will be forthcoming. But when I look at NJAGI and Oyo, and from what they are sharing, I hope they are genuine, they indicate they had gone on more than just a political rally. And what is the fear? Because if a Kenyan goes to Uganda for a rally, and it's just a mere campaign process, there are no demonstrations currently. I heard Museveni speak, and what he said, he indicated that he had his intelligence actually activating their data and finding out that the two were very serious planners of demonstrations. I was even shocked because from the Kenyan end, we've never had any of the demonstrations organized by NJAGI and Oyo. Anyway, their CV has finally been expanded. So what do they have to say about the experience they had until the moment they were arrested? Let's listen to him speaking.
And I was very honored to share a podium with the team that evening when we campaigned. Thereafter, we departed going to Kampala for other activities. But as we got to Kampala, the vehicle had a problem, and we parked the vehicle at the petrol station called Starbucks. This fuel station is actually owned by the president of Kenya. I got to know about this later, but I didn't know that at the time. So that's why we parked the vehicle overnight for us to come and pick it in the morning to fix it as we continue with our journey. But at 10 in the morning, about 7 armed men, heavily armed military men, confronted us, and one of them introduced himself as an officer and said that we need to go with you, you need to come with us. And when I saw the formation, I knew that we have to comply, otherwise we might even expose ourselves to more danger. And that was the first day of the abduction. We call it an abduction because from the moment they picked us to the moment they released us, the Ugandan government has been denying having us in custody.
All right. So, of course, many indicated that it was an abduction because even the manner in which they were arrested was not in law. We expect that when somebody is arresting you, they would introduce themselves to you. They would show even a kind of warrant of search or warrant of arrest. And they would also mention the kind of crime that you've practiced before they take you away. And if anything, they would also expose your presence in their hands. However, the Uganda authority kept denying the presence of Bob NJAGI and Nicholas Oyo in their hands all along. And even up to that day, that is when we saw Museveni on media sharing how he had two people and he indicated he didn't know their names. And he was holding on them because of having understood who they are. But he doesn't know their names. Again, he came out to share more details with them. Let me decline first. All right, so let's just take on something here for more details on what ordeal they had.
And perhaps this opportunity would be for me to plead to the brother, his own brother, the Minister for Internal Affairs, Mutafiri. He's looking.
All right, guys. Sometimes you just have to receive calls, and even when you deny to receive them, someone will insist. And that was my niece calling from a school, a candidate sitting for KCSE. Yeah, so I was trying to reject that call, but I had to receive it after insistence. And I realized the persistence was because that was my niece requiring some medicine from school. I wish them well anyway, as we continue with this situationship. So of course, when looking at situation surrounding the arrest of the two, we actually agree that it was more of an abduction. And given that the government of Uganda kept denying presence of those two, we see that as an abduction. And at the end of the day now, it teaches us something, that sometimes even when the government does something, they'll never have to say that they did it, you know? They'll always have to say they don't know, they are not aware. And that takes me back to Ruto when he was being interviewed on Al Jazeera. He kept denying that he was not aware of abductions. However, when he was asked a question in relation to shooting the youth in the legs, he said he doesn't regret that statement. If I were the president, I would say I regret the statement because of the fury that it brought in the country, but we would wish to sit down and find a better way of handling people who riot and all that. Because, of course, all of us have statistics about people who are arraigned, some of them who lost their lives. And we know that not all of them participated in the demonstrations. Some people are just killed from a gym, others from their houses, and others just because in the evening after a long wait of a calm day, they ended on the streets and they were shot dead. Anyway, that is a discussion for another day, but let's focus on what Bob NJAGI tells us.
Looking for his brother. He was my bedmate. His brother has been in the same place for 4 months. The family doesn't know where he is. They think he's dead. I left him in the sand and he asked me, Bob, he asked me to talk to you to make sure the message gets to the president, because the president is not aware about some of these things. It is the son, Muhozi, who is undertaking these crimes against humanity. They are being undertaken at the Special Forces Command Center in Serakasenyi. That is a training ground for the presidential security team. And they call themselves next to none because they are next to none. They don't take command from any other, either the judiciary, whether it's parliament, whether it's the executive. So this is an militia that is operating.
So the armed militia, next to none in Uganda, is currently operating under the orders of General Muhoozi, the son of Museveni. Remember, Museveni has been ruling for 40 years, and now his son has grown up and seen how malicious he is in some of the things he does. But somehow maybe we can say Museveni has been a bit reasonable. As far as NJAGI is saying that the only people who take orders, the only person whom this militia group from Uganda take orders from is the son to Museveni. I may also say Museveni has awareness of them, because when he was speaking on media, he indicated he was aware. He was aware, and his intelligence had informed him. So it may be a lot of atrocities which many people are going through in Uganda, as he has just shared, and you can see he's even crying on a public media when he was being interviewed Nairobi on a live stream. This is what he had to say.
Under the General Muhoozi, and there are so many Ugandans. I left there over 150 of them in custody. People who are serving, who are being kept without going through any court process. They have been detained, some of them up to a year. That is what is calling the fridge, if you want to know what the fridge is. There are some people who are actually in the freezer, not in the fridge. And as a human rights issue, these people have no cases. Most of them, they're being kept there for political reasons. And we have to come in now as human rights defenders and also say that we should not associate ourselves with such oppressive regimes, starting with Tanzania. And we are hoping on the December 9th, they have declared it an Independence Day. Also in Kenya, we are declaring December 9th will be a total shutdown. We are going to stand in solidarity with our brothers in Tanzania, and we are going to shut our borders in Kenya in solidarity with Tanzania. The Tanzanian...
All right, guys. So you heard clearly what Nicholas, what NJAGI was sharing here. And now you remember hearing Chergei calling activists busybodies. The reason why the current regime is afraid of activists is because they know that whatever matters they are addressing are not just matters of across the border. They are serious matters maybe within the country, and therefore they are afraid of what will happen. Meanwhile, Chadema party members from Tanzania actually have had to seek refuge in Kenya. And I hope that maybe just as we heard from Senator Onyonka, who shared that his father had once rescued Museveni during the times of Obote, and had not allowed Obote to receive the men of Museveni, the same will happen. Now let's get to more information. Of course, I talked about students in schools. And currently, I don't know what is happening. I don't understand why possibly we have this kind of teachers or the principals or whoever they are who believe that they have to leak exams by force, by fire. You know, as a teacher, what I believe is I teach properly in class. I give all the details. I revise with students thoroughly. Before the exam, for example, we start revision in term 2. They go through so many papers. So why should I again be forced to leak for students or hide somewhere and maybe put on a face of a supervisor or invigilator to go and leak exams for students? Why would I go and take a picture of a paper so that I go write some quick answers, then come photocopy and distribute in class? These are realities that are happening in schools. And politically speaking, I think this is why we are coming out with very rogue leaders. People who don't understand what they have to do, even rogue doctors. I've seen doctors literally, you go to the hospital and they are Googling. And then you ask yourself, what if I Google myself the whatever medicine I have to prescribe myself? You find very rogue lawyers who cannot have the context of a case in their minds. And no wonder we have the jury pesa, kind of group that is coming up. We have seen a lot of people being set free, and we question why. Remember the issue of the Bungoma guy who was in a saga of 300 million. We have seen the case of the other two guys who are just left scot-free. We saw the case of Mike Sonko and many others. Anyway, that should be a discussion for another day. But I'm telling you, the aspect of exam, leakage It's a very serious matter, and I don't know why most teachers still insist on hiding somewhere in school and trying to, kind of conduct a lot of mishaps surrounding the exam. So far, there is a lot of cheating happening. And the level now at which cheating is happening, it's involving teachers. We have the aspect of principals, and we have also the students who are trying to get phones to school. From where I stay, of course, I've seen several schools, students, not reading. What they have to do, they want to write some booklets, go with them in the exam. Literally, they don't want to keep information in their brains. And it's better, I always say it's better a student scores even a C and goes to that college than get a B- and go to the university, but they are raw, That student who goes with a C will be a very important person in the society, because whatever they'll go and do out there, it is real, like the knowledge they have. If it is skills, they are going to participate, whether it's in a college for teaching or a college for nursing or whichever other college. They'll come out as very pure people who will do the best for our country. But when we have this cheating, at the end of the day, we don't have the product we expect. So let's just get some details here about exam cheating and what has been going on out there.
To education matters now, where the ongoing KCSE examination has been marred by cases of exam malpractice across several counties nationwide. In Migori County, at St. Anne's Sunrise Girls' School, a former teacher is reported to have gained access to the school compound, impersonated an invigilator by entering an exam room where mathematics paper was in progress. The suspect allegedly scanned a candidate's exam paper before fleeing the scene. Police have since arrested the deputy center manager and an invigilator for abetting exam malpractice in the state center. In a similar incident in Kisumu County, a candidate at Magunga Secondary School has been arrested over exam irregularities. The found in possession of a mobile phone hidden. When the supervisor attempted to confiscate the phone, the student is said to have fought the invigilator before attempting to escape.
From idea to video in seconds. What if you could turn a single sentence into a cinematic video scene in less than a minute? With Video Express AI.
So the reality of this now, I want to talk about this matter because I'm an educationist. Actually, I don't know whether the pressure of students to pass comes from parents or whether it's from teachers or whichever circles. I've seen personally in staff rooms, teachers who don't want to leave school, not because they are hardworking, but it's because they want to please maybe the principal, they want to please the system or something like that. They want to feign as if they work so much hard, especially when it comes to rewarding. Rewarding. Yeah, so guys, if we remember very well, rewarding is only a process that happens once a year. I wonder how someone can really become better for fighting for a reward that comes once in a year, and you are going through a process that can really make your life very terrible. It may end up messing with your career and also your integrity, because if we allow cheating in school, what we are doing is we are actually robbing the system of integrity. We are automatically allowing for corruption. That is a form of corruption, actually. But I've looked at many people. We have these young teachers who don't understand that you just let the students read. And in fact, I remember our times, we could read so hard and score so highly, even in day schools. I did study in a day school, and I was able to score a B+ during those days as early as 204. So when I look at the current students who come with a lot of marks in high school and they come out with a B or a B-, then I just wonder. And again, when you look at the two systems, during our time, we could do paper 1 math before we could know what is being done in paper 2. But these days, they have clearly stated what is said in paper 1 math, paper 2 math, So I wonder why teachers keep on trying to help students, because all they are doing is messing up the future. we will have a lot of workers, even teachers, student, police, doctors, nurses, and all sorts of workers who will not be competent. And who are we to blame? We will not blame those students. It is us, maybe some of the teachers who are sneaking into schools to help. Those who are giving them funds and assuring them that they'll be helped. Supervisors who are going to schools and then saying that if you give me this amount, then I'm going to be, free. I'm going to let students do the cheating. But it's unfortunate. That's what is happening in our nation, and may God help us to actually restore the integrity that we are supposed to have. Otherwise, we'll keep blaming the aspect of corruption, but we'll never change the situation even in future if we don't. To the next aspect, we've seen once again the president of U.S., Trump, has come so hard on the people of America. In fact, he has decided not to allow them to travel outside, America and go to some nations. One of these aspects is there is a big summit that is happening in Johannesburg. So the summit was going to be attended by the U.S. Vice President, J.D. Vance. And we've just seen that he had to cancel his trip to Johannesburg because he was supposed to go to Johannesburg and he was supposed to pass by Kenya. And this is an event happening on 22nd and 23rd of November. So the trip has been cancelled. And of course, you understand clearly that currently Trump is not happy with most of African nations, including Nigeria, where he has been threatening to attack and send them missiles right there if the war against Christians will not end. He has also talked about Tanzania, not in a very good way. And for the past days, before even Al Jazeera interview, we saw that he had also talked about Kenya. So let's get to see why the U.S. had to cancel the Vice President Vance's planned trip that was supposed to let him come to Kenya.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has been cancelled. This follows President Donald Trump's order stopping all American government officials from attending this year's Grand 20 Summit in South Africa. The conclusion of the two-day summit would have paved the way for the visit for the first to an African country by Vance since the Trump administration came to power in January. Ayub Abdikadir has more.
J.D. Vance becomes a casualty of his boss's directive, blocking American government officials from attending the G20 summit in Johannesburg, a gathering of the world's most advanced economy, scheduled for the 22nd and 23rd of November. The aftermath, which would have seen Vance lead an American delegation to Kenya. Immediate response coming from Foreign Affairs CS Musalia Mudavadi, who stated that the cancellation follows Trump's directive blocking American officials, assuring that the move will not affect relations between Washington and Nairobi. America's 47th president has since returning to the White House maintained accusations of white farmers' mistreatment by the South African government.
Yes, of course, we saw even the president of South Africa who went to America. And you remember that discussion between him and Trump? I'm trying to get the video for Trump. Let me just see whether I'll find it.
The Department of International America, at which point the president appeared to double down and suggested South Africa should not be in the G20 at all. On Friday, a post...
Yeah, so of course Donald Trump posted this 14 days ago saying it is a total disgrace that the G20 will be held in South Africa. Afrikaners, people who are descendant of Dutch settlers and also French and German immigrants are being killed and slaughtered, and their land and farms are being illegally confiscated. No U.S. government official will attend as long as this human rights abuse continue. I look forward to hosting the 2028 G20 summit. That was Trump for you, actually. All right. So he posted that on his end.
Total disgrace that the G20 would be held in South Africa and that Afrikaner
Summit, Ramaphosa said from its inception.
So Ramaphosa actually, if you remember very well, and I'll be bringing the video to you, had a discussion with the Trump, and Trump really trashed him a lot. Okay.
From its inception, SADC has stood as a beacon of solidarity.
Let's look at this. I want to bring that dialogue between Ramaphosa and Trump. Just in case you forgot about it. Yeah, so this is the video that was shown some time ago as Trump was talking to Ramaphosa. That was in May of this year.
Turn your home into a world of fun and adventure with Star Times.
What would it take for you to be convinced that there's no white genocide in South Africa?
Well, I can answer that for the president. It's for him. No, seriously. I'd rather have him answer. I don't answer that. It will be.
The president will respond to you. Thank you, Mr. President.
It will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here. When we have talks between us around a quiet table, it will take President Trump to listen to them. I'm not going to be repeating what I've been saying. I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me. So it'll take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective. That is the answer to your question.
But, Mr. President, I must say that we have, wait. We have thousands of stories talking about it. Sure. And we have documentaries, we have news stories, and that. Is Natalie here, somebody here to turn that? I could show you a couple of things, and it has to be responded to.
Yeah, sure.
Let me see the articles, please, if you would, and turn the lights down. Turn the lights down and just put this on. It's right behind you. Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. South Africa occupy land. That's who we are. Can we drop my membership from this useless parliament? Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of the revolutionary act. Shoot, kill.
That is Trump for you. So when Trump actually wants to really prove a point, he will play documentaries. He's not like sitting there to listen to your story. He's not going to do the Al Jazeera interview between Ruto and the Al Jazeera journalist. He will show you the parts of newspapers, because that is what exactly he has done. If he has switched his mind to believe that something is happening, he will have to follow that script. And we saw him actually really bringing down Ramaphosa in the Oval Office meeting and clashing with President Trump. Ramaphosa could not convince Trump in any way. Look at this.
Over the last few days, death of people, death, horrible death, I don't know, to pick anyone. White South Africans are fleeing because of the violence and racist laws, and this is all. I mean, I'll give these to you. So when you say, what would I like to do? I don't know what to do. Look at this. White South African couple say that they were attacked violently.
President Trump, when will you go and see for yourself if it is?
Well, I could do that. Look, here's burial sites all over the place. These are all white farmers that are being buried. And he asks about a jet that was given. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You know, you are so bad. You're such a bad reporter.
So that was the moment of Ramaphosa and President Trump. And of course, that is why now no U.S. official from is allowed to attend the G20 summit in the U.S. And of course, Ramaphosa is trying to defend and do whatever he can do. But the same situation I can see is going to happen in Nigeria, because the Nigeria president is trying to defend, you know, kind of explain. But Trump is not ready to listen to any of that, you know. So as we end this video, guys, what do you think? We have dealt with so many matters. Of course, Bob NJAGI's information from Uganda, the threat from Museveni, and especially the son in the general, Muhoozi. And we've also dealt with the aspects of the exam cheating, the police cancellation of recruitment of 10,000 police officers. We've also seen the aspect of, the last aspect we have to see is Muigai. Muigai Ng'ang'a was called on an interview and he's blaming Kenyan voters. Are we the problem? We have about 6 minutes to finish this discussion. Please drop your comment if you believe in what this guy was trying to say. So according to, you know, Muigai Ng'ang'a was called in an interview, and all he had to say is that voters are to blame for whatever happens, not the governments. So do you really agree with that? Now, in my opinion, I think there's a two-way here. We have to blame leaders. At the same time, we have to blame voters. Now, voters of Kenya are turning into emotional voters who are only voting with their emotions. Somebody recently said that we are voting with their emotions because we just want to remove the current government, but we don't look into what is coming in. And therefore, we end up choosing the wrong leaders in a vicious circle. And this cycle is becoming a dangerous one for Kenya, because every time we will be on the streets demonstrating, we will be on the streets demanding, we will be on the media talking, but possibly will not have a solution to our problems. Now, if you look at the rogue leaders that currently we have, I wonder, they were chosen by citizens, all right? They were chosen by citizens. So to some extent, we are to blame as voters. One thing, voters of Kenya, some of them are disillusioned. So because of disillusionment, the desperate move they make is to refuse to go and register as voters. They also refuse to even change their voters' cards. If they were voting in the last 10 years from a different place, if they move to a different location, they don't make attempts to change their voters' card to the present destination. The other thing they do on voting day, they don't turn up to vote. That is one problem with Kenyan voters. Another problem with Kenyan voters, why I would blame them, some of them don't care even having the IDs. Actually, there is a very large population in Kenya currently, but so many people don't have the ID cards. And even though currently the president decided to let the process of getting an ID so easy, it's unfortunate. When you look at the people who are just sitting without IDs, there are still so many. And they don't care about going to get the IDs at all. So that one I will blame the Kenyan voters, number 2. Number 3, I blame the Kenyan voters for one thing. They are not interested to understand the leaders who come to them soliciting for votes. All they do is to ask them to give them something. So when you see them celebrating in a rally, they don't celebrate the ideas. They don't celebrate the ideas or manifesto. They celebrate the person based on what they are going to receive. The fatter the money they are going to get during that day, the more they'll consider that person. And I think the leaders have studied this trend, and therefore they don't care to deliver. They don't care to deliver. All they care is, have I actually collected enough money to go give the voters? And so they'll go about in villages and towns, making people queue, and then they give the money, just so sure that people will vote for them. You will find someone arguing in an office, an elite person, let me tell you, not you know, I'm not talking about the people who are illiterate. An elite person in an office will argue and say, yeah, I'll vote for so-and-so because I've at least received 500 shillings from this guy. You see? So that tells us that our voters, most of them are entrepreneurs. Why am I calling them entrepreneurs? Entrepreneurs in the name that they vote based on how much they receive. How much they receive. And so we have the brokers. The brokers, of course, receive more money. They may receive in terms of millions or 100,000s. Then, now the voters will receive maybe 500 by the end of the campaign period, or maximum of 1,000. And they'll say, I vote for so and so, or for such and such a party because of the amount of money I've received. We have also voters who are headless. My goodness, and I'm telling you, my phone had, because I didn't remember that there's power. The phone was going off and I didn't know. So what I was saying is that at some point, I may blame voters because some of them are headless. What do I mean by this? Some of the voters actually don't think on their own. You know, we have this kind of voters who think based on what others will share with them. If the people will tell them to vote for so-and-so, then they'll go for so-and-so. If they are told to vote for the other person, they'll vote for the other person. So it becomes a very tricky situation when you look at... Ebu, angalia, nani? Nilikuwa nimemwambia all right, we were proceeding. I had to attend to something. So I kept quiet because I was handling something else. When you see, sometimes I put off the microphone and maybe focus to something else, it's because I'm it's ordinarily because of such a situation. So I'm sorry for that, but bear with me. Othel Tyson. Yeah, so what I'm saying is when you come to Kenyan voters, I said there are those who are entrepreneurs, those who don't go to vote, those who don't go to register. Then we have those who actually go to vote based on what their people will tell them. You know, can you imagine somebody telling you vote for so and so, and you just follow and go vote? So we have that kind of group, vote headlessly. They follow their leaders. Leaders tell them vote for so and so, they'll vote for so and so. All right. So we have that group, much aware of that. Then we have the ones now who are the elites and also informed about the system. They want actually to understand why they should vote for so and so, and they make so much discussion surrounding the people who are vying And maybe they'll vote for a very unpopular individual and people will laugh at them. Then there are those who vote for those who are the haves. Okay? Othele Tyson is from Caribbean. I hope you are not from Jamaica. Jamaica currently have been facing a lot of problems, and we are really praying for you guys so that God comes handy and saves you from the current situation. Otherwise, the Caribbean is a very nice land. I've watched a lot of videos, and also I did follow Jamaican videos on election process, and I was so happy as Holiness was picked finally. Plus the elections themselves were generally a friendly one. So thank you so much for coming on in the house. I hope the Caribbean, specifically where you come from, it's fine. I don't know whether you come from Barbados or whether you come from, I don't know, which specific place. Maybe you can let us know. So as I was saying, we also have voters in Kenya who actually do vote just because the haves, you know, they only go for the haves. They don't vote for the common people, unpopular candidates and all that. Because they have connections with these people and they want work or work for their kids or tenders in government or something, you know. Yeah. Othella Tyson says from St. Kitts. Oh, we have St. Kitts also. I know St. Catherine. So we have St. Kitts also. Samuel Otieno, what are you saying? All right. We are almost finishing, of course. We are just finalizing. So I'm bringing a discussion in relation to what Muigai, there's a Muigai Nganga who was called to studio, if you have watched NTV and Citizen, and he was asked what is the problem with Kenya. He said the problem are the voters, not the leaders. Do you agree with that? As we come to this end, of course, I'll not bring the video in the interview that was conducted. Yeah, so Othella Tyson, thank you from St. Kitts, Caribbean. I appreciate your presence here. Samuel Otieno, I also appreciate you and all those who have been in the house. But the reality about our elections, or rather our leadership, sometimes we blame the leaders so much. But then I ask myself, what about us? What is our mistake? Because if we don't understand our mistake, we will keep blaming these leaders, but sometimes it's us. You know, I've ever been in a place whereby they kept voting for an MCA who was not performing, sleeping in the trenches, you know, not performing at all. But they kept voting him just because he is the man of our village, man of our village. That is what the villagers from that place kept saying. And I was surprised because that sequence of events went on and on to a level that the guy was not doing anything. He was not even caring about his family, but they kept voting him in and in. I've also been in a place where there is an MCA who has happened to serve for 3 different generations, and they know he does mistakes, but they don't care what he does, you know? They don't care. Every time he will pay some people, they'll buy, they'll destroy the votes. He will also hire people from outside, they come vote for him, and it has been a series of problems. But actually, I blame the voters, because if voters have this sensitization, knowledge about who they are voting for, and what they want, what do voters even understand what they want? Like currently, I've just heard how we are seeing people standing and celebrating in Malava, in the by-election element, in Mbere, in Magarini, in the northeastern and all those places, Kaspul and many other places. But do they know what they want? Are they only being brought to a leader without understanding what this leader represents? Yeah, that's my question, because if we are there crying at the end of the election or later 1 year after election, do we have a share in what currently we have? Like if we have a bad president or we have a bad governor, like Wavinya Ndeti who is eating left and right in Ukambani, Machakos, like the Kericho governor, I'm mentioning them because we have seen them in court and we have heard the charges read about them. or even any other leader, senator, or whatever the case is, do we ask ourselves how we got there? And do we ask ourselves how we can get ourselves out of there? Because if only voters begin to ask these questions, instead of just going to rallies and celebrating, yeah, 1 term, 2 term, 3 terms, 5 terms, if only we sit down and think about what we want as voters. Which kind of leaders do we want? Do we want leaders who will tell us, or leaders who will do for us? You know, if only we begin asking ourselves that, then maybe we'll have a better governorship. You know, do even voters go to a level of understanding how much money they are allocated in their counties and what that money is doing? If a project is being done in their constituency, do they try to follow and understand what is happening? I don't know. Do they know the difference between the county government roles and the national government roles? This kind of education, many people just brush it aside. In fact, if you talk about politics, they tell you, keep quiet, find something to do. Why are you bothered? When I hear politics, I just switch off. But then, remember, anything surrounding politics defines your life more than everything else. So how I wish that people will actually wake up, especially voters. If voters wake up in Kenya, then we are safe. We will not have many complaints or problems to raise. Anyway, let's see whether we can get to the next video, because I was planning to have 3 videos today. I'm not so sure whether I'll make it, but with God, everything is possible. Thank you so much for those of you who watched. Othele Tyson from St. Kitts, Caribbean, Samuel Otieno, Paul Wanyonyi, John Itute, who kept saying, are you a Luo? Because they are always stubborn. Jole Akula, Grow a Garden Fan, Ronald Kiria Bagea, Christina Matthews, and any other person who watched, because I know most of you watched. I really appreciate, and may God grant you whatever you ask for, and also allow you to enjoy your moments in your life, because your support means a lot. And I always say, when you support me, God will also hold your hand. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here. Like the video, recommend for your friends, and give us a like. If you really have comments to drop over what we've discussed, you are also free to drop comments, and I'll really appreciate. Bye-bye for now. Let's meet in another live stream. Najua Wafula ameniambia